I think the role of the university has changed over time. So certainly, if you look at Asian universities in the past, they were colonial institutions and they were devised to, in a way, reflect or continue colonialism. They then went through a nationalist phase in which they served the nation, and often what happened was these universities actually in some ways guarded the soul of the nation or brought the nation to being before the nation was even politically independent. And of course now universities have different functions. Maybe the nation is receding and now they're functioning in some way in many of these state capitalist societies in increasingly neoliberal ways, and maybe attracting foreign students in, contributing to the economy, those sort of things. So is Singapore exceptional, or is it something which is part of a larger trend? I think the difference possibly historically in the university in Singapore versus London or Toronto or something like that is that there was certainly a period when Raffles College was originally founded, the forerunner of National University of Singapore, where it was very much a colonial institution. In 1949 we get the University of Malaya, and we're moving there towards a university which is about nationalism. We also have a history of a different kind of university education in Singapore in a different language, in Chinese. So we have Nanyang University, which was set up by a Chinese community. Right? So historically the university has been something different. I think then what happened in the 1980s, 1990s, especially in the last 10 or 15 years, neoliberalism actually moved much more quickly into the university than it has done probably in Canada or in the United Kingdom. So the university has very quickly become a very, very marketized, a very corporatized institution. That's slightly different. That said, I think what's really interesting to see in the university now, and this may be the case all over the world, but especially in Singapore, is the university is becoming a source of, again, political contention because of its historical role of having something to do with nationalism in a way that possibly, again, in the United Kingdom or in Canada, that isn't entirely the case. Singapore has to move as a society from manufacturing, even top-end manufacturing, to some form of innovation. So, in a way, the governmental or perhaps the state's position on this would be something like, we need innovators. How do we get innovators? We need to produce this kind of creativity in people at universities. Therefore, let's have the liberal arts or something that looks like the liberal arts. And I myself was part of a program that was started 11 years ago, University Scholars Program, which had a liberal arts component. And now, as you rightly say, what's happened is that starting next year, Yale NUS College will open its doors. So this is a liberal arts college in a collaboration with Yale. So in a way, you could say, well, what's going on from the state's point of view, this is quite instrumental. Let's create these kind of spaces where we can produce maybe even entrepreneurial kind of people. But I think there's also a sense in which these spaces offer other kinds of possibilities, because the liberal arts, as you know, and other kinds of university initiatives like it are kind of messy, and they produce people who go off to do all these different kinds of things. In North America, maybe it's less so in Canada, there's been a loss of confidence in the role of a public university. I think that's certainly, I mean, Canada I'm not quite so sure of, but certainly in the US, where many public universities are now chronically underfunded and struggle for a certain kind of position in society. And I think one of the interesting things in Singapore is that how the public university has maintained a certain kind of role in society. However much you want to criticize educational policy in Singapore, it has been exceptionally well funded. And I think what's interesting is, at the moment in Singapore, various kind of possible models are being tried out and piloted. So perhaps one thing to learn is that this confidence in the university as a public good, as an indisputable public good, that is not necessarily fully bound by market conditions, although markets will continue to enter the university for good or for evil.